Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast, episode 187. We are just getting into back to school season, and there's no one better to bring on the podcast to talk about the second largest Chad scaling time of the year, right? With my boy Carson, who he was telling us off camera, today will hit his first $100,000 month. He just graduated high school. He also just started selling on Amazon. So how the hell do you figure this out this quickly, right? So we're excited to have Carson on to jam on that stuff. As always, Buy Box Bandits is sponsored by Boxum, which is our brand new Amazon FBA shipment tool. If you haven't already gotten a 2-week free trial of Boxum, test out 2D barcodes, test out the modern shipment flow. It is significantly quicker, easier to use, and it's also significantly less expensive than other tools that have less functionality than Boxum. So try it out, boxum.com. Got tutorials on all our socials going over that. And Carson, welcome to the Buy Box Bandits, man. Good to have you on.
What's up, man?
Oh yeah. So a couple months ago, man, I assume probably in like when'd you get started?
It was just 5 months ago. So that would be what, I think that's May or so. No,
something like that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right around there. Right. So you were very new to selling on Amazon, right? How'd you get into it? What made you want to get started with it? And then talk everyone through what your business setup looks like currently.
So like basically starting off, I kind of like didn't really know. I always knew kind of what Amazon FBA was, but I always kind of wanted to get into it. But like when I wanted to get into it, I think like 16 or 17, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, like, can you like open an LLC and like an Amazon account for me?" And he was like, like I don't want to have to deal with the taxes because I already had to do some of that with him for like what I did in the past. And so he was like, "Yeah, I don't really want to like have to deal with that. Just wait till you're 18." So basically, the day after my 18th birthday, I started filling out my LLC, and then like kind of got into it through my friend David, and he kind of put me on and helped me out like through the whole process and kind of took me under his wing and like really helped me out and like what he says is he walks so I could run. So he helped me learn all the processes, avoiding some of those mistakes that newer sellers make.
And then, so do you have a reselling background, or did you just kind of jump head first into selling on Amazon?
Yeah, I've always loved selling, started off on the lemonade stands, and then like in elementary school, I'd sell those rainbow loon bracelets and like the silly bands. And then in middle school, that's when Supreme was big. So I started off like on Amazon, you could buy like 100 Supreme stickers, like these tiny fake ones, and I'd sell them at school for like, like $2-3. So I'd be making money there. And then I probably got them for free off my dad's Amazon account. And I sold like some fake Supreme lanyards, but then I really got into it. I think it was like 7th grade and like the end of 6th grade, I started really selling the Supreme and, selling the Yeezys when there was, high demand there. So then I kind of did that and like the StockX flipping and then like eBay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Natural bred seller.
I was just going to say that, man. Exactly. Right. Very similar to myself. Right. And similar to a lot of people listening to this stuff, man, too, right. That have an eBay background, that have a sneaker reselling background. So talk through, like, you obviously probably didn't have to convince yourself that Amazon worked because you already knew that reselling worked really well. But talk about like, what was it like building that initial momentum, man? And that like the 0 to like 10K a month in sales, 2K a month in profit is by far the hardest process,
Yeah. So like it was rough. The first ever product I bought was the wrong product and I had sent it in and, I had to trust in yourself. I feel like on my first like big buy, I was kind of nervous and I kind of didn't, release all my capital, even though I knew the volume was there. But then like kind of once I figured out, like once I got that all checked in and sold, I was like, I really think that volume's there. So then I kind of was just trusting yourself. I think that's what it comes down to, even like since I'm 18, I live at home. I don't really got many expenses. So like, even if it were all to fail, I can always go back home and I got a house to live in. So that's kind of what, really keeps me going. Cause I'll just, I'm just giving it all out there and, trusting myself and buying as much as I can and kind of just trusting the processes.
So the biggest hurdles that I think a lot of newer sellers face early on is obviously finding products. For you, though, it didn't seem to be too much of a hassle, a hurdle, a headache early on. So what were some of the methods, practices that you were using to find products early on? And also, how has that kind of morphed and developed as you've gained some sort of traction in the business?
So I think like early on, it kind of was a struggle. Like I came into it with probably more capital than like a starting person. So I was getting anxious to buy. And I think that, I was really, I made a few bad buys, but I kind of figured that out. But, as I started off with reverse sourcing, I think that was probably the easiest method for me, kind of just going on storefronts. And then you kind of get to figure out like what products are from where, if it's like a wholesale OA product. And then I also dabbled into some KPF, and I think getting really good at that is a very, very good skill to have. So I started doing that. And then I kind of just, sourcing with the group of people when you start out, like finding people that
shout out Jacob. Yep.
yeah,
Shout out
Jacob and Jack, and like, I think finding people that are kind of in the same boat as you, same amount of sales, it doesn't have to be exact, but you can get on those calls and you can hop on and source every day for a few hours. And even if you're not finding anything, I feel like it's valuable to, be on the phone talking and learning and figuring out kind of what's going on and kind of learning together. Because if you have three people searching three different websites, three different, storefront stocking or whatever it is, you're able to find those products quicker.
And the
sure.
huge value is early on is that you don't really have any organic momentum, right? It's easy for us 4 years in, 5 years in, with years and years of $1 million years, right? To continue off the momentum that we've already built. But as you're getting started, you have to sort of like manufacture that momentum. You have to force it into existence with surrounding yourself with the same sorts of people, right? Because if you're in a group chat with 4 people, one person said they're having a big month. Well, I mean, organically, inherently, that kind of forces you into more action. Those sort of things are,
and you need that. That's why sports are so fun. That's why that's why you hang out with people, all that. And it has to be the same way for selling on Amazon, right? You can't go at this by yourself. And the cool part is that part's completely free as well. Sorry to interrupt you, G-Body Benz.
No, you're good.
Sweet, cool. Right. So like, most importantly though, how did you find that fast though? Because everyone listening to this, they've been hearing your boys say it for years, right? Who you talk to determines the results you get selling on Amazon. If you want to learn the language of selling on Amazon, you have to talk to people that speak the language. How'd you find that quick though, man? Because you seem like you got an awesome squad, pretty quickly here. And I'm pretty sure I started working with Jacob, I think like April or May, man. So when he was brand new too.
Yeah. So I think that was, David really preached the social media, put yourself out there, even if you're embarrassed or like, nobody cares, put yourself out there, film that video. People kind of want to see, what, some people just tweet, but they want to see kind of a face behind that. And so basically what I did was I went out there and I was like, hey guys, my first month selling on Amazon, I'm looking for people to network with. I'd love to hop on a call, source, maybe just talk business, and kind of figure out who you want to talk to. But the social media aspect is what's, even if some people say it's not worth it, to me, it's been tremendously helpful in my business. And that's where I've met all my new friends that I've talked to almost every day. I still talk to most of them every day.
A lot of people will say, oh, I don't have anything to contribute to social media.
Yeah, I hate that. When you don't
have anything
decide,
to say.
You don't get the choice of whether or not you have something to share. You give it to the market and you find out.
Yeah,
but no matter what level you're at, there's probably tens, if not hundreds of people throughout the Twitter sphere that are reading your tweets that are in the exact same situation.
Yeah. Or that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like with that, it's like you're like, well, I haven't sold anything. Well, post, you're like, I'm a new seller. I haven't sold anything and I'm looking for other people in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, they'll be flooded. People are just looking for that. And then maybe you find your new best friends and maybe you conquer that together. So I think even if you don't have anything, just make something, even just go up there, introduce yourself, say it's your first week, your first month, just say something and, good things will come back to you.
And all of that costs no money. And there is zero downside to it, as long as you're not worried about what your high school friends think. When most of you guys listening to this are 5+ years out of high school, right? So Carson actually does have reason to worry about that. More so than most folks. He was literally in high school, a couple months ago, basically. And so especially kids who are in college, obviously high school is a little bit different, are worried about time management and everything, right? Which we can all agree, Garrett, having been out of school for a while, right? You have so much more time when you're in school than when you're not, right? In regards to at least college versus like the real world or whatever. But how did you go about actually managing that? Because like you actually might not have been able to be on your phone for like 8 hours a day or something. You know what I mean? What does that actually look like in terms of time management while being in high school or college?
So like in high school, like it was actually pretty easy. I kind of set myself up, in the last semester, I kind of only needed to take 2 credits or so. So I kind of had a, very easy workload, had easy classes. And to be honest, I didn't go to class so much, had some senioritis. So I wasn't showing up every day. But, it was still fun. I think I managed my time pretty good. But like once it got to graduation, and all that, peak grad parties and, everyone's hanging out and you're like, it's your last summer before everyone kind of splits off. So I think that's been the only problem that I've kind of occurred. I still get all my stuff done, but sometimes it's maybe a day or so late. And then David's always preaching me, my sense of urgency he says it's lacked. So sometimes I'll hold off on a shipment by a day, but I think, as it, goes on, my sense of urgency is getting better. My time balance is also getting better.
Yeah, I mean, you've been so comfortable for so long. I mean, it's only natural to kind of, steer off path just a bit.
Yeah.
You pointed out that initially your parents were somewhat hesitant for you, maybe for you to do it or for them to kind of withstand some sort of responsibility. Obviously, you being under 18, how has kind of their mentality shifted as you've obviously turned 18, as you've seen some success? How much have you shared with them, and how has their attitude kind of shifted?
So yeah, their attitude at the start, it was they kind of just thought it was a little side hustle. And then, as I started, I did share my numbers with them because I wanted to get them fully on board with me. Because I think, parents can help you out tremendously if that's, co-signing a loan or opening a card for you or doing anything like that. So, I think they're trusting the process. My mom's fully on board. She's been helping me out a decent bit. And then my dad, he's almost there. So I'm still working on getting them fully on board so they can help me, further my business.
But let me guess, your dad's probably been in the corporate world for a while, probably works 9 to 5.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he works the 9 to 5. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And they want what's best for you. And that's the tough part with everyone. Like, we love to ask people who worked a corporate job for 14 years and then left. Like, we all obviously had it easy. But what does your family think of it? And it's significantly harder, or at least people make it significantly harder, right, to overcome that kind of stuff initially, man. So obviously, if you're listening to this and you're younger, it's go time. It's never been a better time to really, really start hitting this stuff heavy, especially this time you were back to school and Q4 kicking up. So how much of the growth, I assume, what'd you do in June, sales and profit wise?
I think it was 90 grand and 10K profit.
Okay, cool. So it was relatively similar. So you're up 10% month over month?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, just run that.
And then you should be able to do significantly more during August back to school?
Yeah, I think I should be able to do probably around 150 in August.
Boom. Okay, cool. And so what's the main, what are you doing right now in terms of preparation? Because I see some big, beautiful shipment pictures going out. Are you hitting FBM heavy too?
Yeah, so my goal was to do a decent amount of FBM, but I'm kind of gone on some family trips. So I'm not going to be able to hit as hard as I could. So I kind of figured that out and planned ahead. So I kind of just hit big on a couple OA buys and wanted to make sure I had enough stock, to supply for the increased demand for back to school. So just items that, I usually would buy a month, I kind of bought 2 months supply, figured that I would be able to, sell through that hopefully by the end of September.
And so you're going to do 100K this month. To give some perception to the audience, how many SKUs, how many ASINs is that? Right? Because another big misconception with this space is that you need tons and tons of different ASINs to kind of fulfill certain numbers.
It's probably around 15 or so.
Which is completely the opposite of mainstream advice.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
but even from that 15, probably 80, 70K of those sales probably come from 8 ASINs.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Right. But the key is that you need the room to breathe to buy heavy on stuff, and you need to test very, very light to find that. Right. So Carson set it up incredibly well for himself, where he doesn't just learn from his purchases. He learns from Jack's purchase. He learns from David's purchase. He learns from Jacob's purchase. Right. He learns from their mistakes, right? So he gets to avoid a lot of mistakes. And that's why, we always preach being in the community, talking to other people doing this and everything, because you get so much leverage as a result of that back, right? You learn a lot of new coupons. You learn a lot of new deals. There's a reason animals hunt in packs, right? It's a great analogy, right? What's school of fish, right? They swim around the ocean together. They're not swimming on their own, right? First of all, that opens them up to predators from the animal kingdom as well, but it's also easy to hunt too. Right. And everything. So just, makes a whole lot of sense in regards to product research. So W analogy for sure. Right. So in regards to you're obviously at this point, you have a great brand on Twitter. So you're probably getting DMs from people a lot that are struggling with sourcing. Where do you think people are going wrong with sourcing? And what are some product research tips you can give to new sellers listening to this that are okay, how the heck did Garrett figure it out so quick? How the heck did Carson figure it out so quick? What are some tips that have really worked in regards to product research that you think a lot of people are sleeping on?
I think so. I get a decent amount of messages, and it's every single 99% of them is sourcing, and they're like I see you're like scaling up quick. Like, can you give me some tips for sourcing? I'm like, I think they just assume it's going to happen overnight. And what I think my best advice I usually tell them, I'm a newer seller, so I obviously, can't speak on it as well as other bigger sellers, but I'm just like, you need to put the hours in. If you're sourcing like 30 minutes a day, you need to be sourcing 2-3 hours a day. You just got to put those reps up and it kind of will just come back to you. Like, I just think it's the hours. Just put the hours in and it will come back to you.
And how have those hours spent in the Amazon business affected your blossoming golf game, as I just saw on your Twitter?
Oh, my golf game is just tremendously bad. I think I shot like a 74 on 9.
It prepares you, right? You've learned,
it's the same
challenged
thing as
yourself.
Yeah, it's the same thing as doing Amazon or playing basketball, right? Like because I know you're dunking in your profile pic, which is, I mean, that automatically made you retweet it, follow you, and plug you day one, I'm pretty sure, right? But talk about like the similarities in regards to sports, because Parker and Gavin, right, with Arbitrage Arena, they talk phenomenally about those, similarities and everything, because those guys, were playing college sports just a couple of years ago, and even this year for Gavin, right? So what does that look like, and how do you kind of compare sports and business, and how have you been able to use what you learn in sports in business?
I just think sports and business are, they're related together. I think that's why we see a lot of athletes perform better because, they already have that work ethic put into their brain. They already work their whole life, two hours a day at the gym, getting shots up or whatever. And I think that correlates to Amazon. Instead of 2 hours in the gym, you're 2 hours on your computer sourcing. So I think, those people coming in with that good work ethic, just know that if you put in all this work, you're going to get better at it over time.
Miles, I do recognize this profile picture. We were talking about it on one of the Zooms.
Yeah.
Are we sure you didn't get rim stuffed here? Are we?
Oh, Garrett did say that, man. Garrett did say that.
We're sure. I was actually getting guarded by a 4-star. He's kind of lazy defender, but I did blow by him and I got up on
Caught
that
a quick
rim,
bang
so
out off too. Nice. Okay, got you. Cool.
I might have to clip it and send out the video.
Yeah, high key. Yeah, bro, high key. Okay. So what did you think was true about selling Amazon that wasn't true 6 months ago?
Oh. Wait, can you read one more time?
Yeah, of course, man. So what did you think was true about selling Amazon that turned out to not be true? So like beginner misconceptions, essentially, that you had.
I thought it was like, scary, but like, honestly, the people will talk about how, you get deactivated or all this, but I think that comes from a lot of people doing some shady stuff. And I got through a Section 3. I talked to
Uncle, you. He had to call in Uncle Flips off the.
I had to call in the upper hand here, but it's like I think if you're really doing it all right, like it's really not that bad of a marketplace to sell on, because I think I got rid of a Section 3. It took me like a day and a half, and then I got my first in-off. That took only a day to remove. So I think if you're on top of it, it's really just not that scary of a marketplace. It's beyond, but like if you're doing like, sending out the crayons on the 50-cent labels, I think that's when a lot of people get in trouble. But then,
as they should.
Something that's helped me coming back to the Twitter thing is like, you can, a lot of these people are like, yeah, I got deactivated after 10 years. They make a post on it. It gets all this traction. And then, magically a couple of days later, their account's back. So
right. But then the people that hide have one issue and they have no way to get any feedback from anyone who solved it quick. Like you had the Section 3 stuff, man. I'm pretty sure we were on FaceTime within a couple hours. Yeah. Right. And I was like, all right, like it's probably going to take a couple of days. And then it was like a day and a half later, it got fixed. Right. So the way you safeguard that, right, is and not to interrupt, but like you be deep in the community, talking to as many other people as you can, because issues are going to happen. And it's a hell of a lot easier if you have data points that aren't just yours. Right. And planning proactively, keeping good seller amp spreadsheets, keeping your leads organized, keeping your order numbers organized, right. And having all that stuff ready, having a dedicated purchasing email, really, really benefits you over time as well too, and such. And then just another thing in regards to like sourcing with your homies. So a super common question I get from people that are newer to that, what does that dynamic actually look like? Because it's a kind of confusing thing, for someone who's worked in the corporate world for 20 years that, learned how to use Zoom last week, right? So you're going to meet random people on the internet and you're going to try to find profitable toys on Kohl's that sell on Amazon. Like, well, what is that group? Well, it's crazy. Like thinking about it right now for us, it's obviously normal these days. But what does that dynamic of working with the homies actually look like?
I think on your first call, I think you can kind of figure out, because obviously the first person you meet isn't, you're not going to click. Because I feel like you need to be also just talking about normal things on the call. But sometimes you'll be like, oh, okay, I sent this lead in, let's all buy 10. And then all of a sudden it's sold out. You're like, something's not adding up. Stock level said it was 25. So you can kind of figure out, who's really trying to grow together and who's really in it for themselves. So I think, kind of just talking to as many people, source with like maybe 15 people. And out of those 15, you really clicked with like 4 of them. And then, bring those 4 together and then come into a group. And then you can talk about that. And then you can hop on those calls. Even if you're just chatting, hop on those calls and then maybe you get a text. So every so often I'll get a text that, hey, this restocked, or like this is back in stock, or like, look at this. And even if I'm not sourcing with them, I'm still getting those like leads or getting questions from those people that I met on the sourcing group.
And the big thing is that
a race to find your like inner circle, like your people,
facts.
your
That's 3 to 5 people.
4. Yep. Yeah. The 2, 3, 4 people that you can call, whether it's a life problem, like a normal problem, you know what I'm saying? An Amazon problem, whether you can call anytime and they're going to answer. You need to find those people, because those are the people that are going to exponentially grow and raise the ceiling of your income level.
Yeah. And to do that, you have to actually own it and wear it on your chest that you sell on Amazon, right? Carson is very excited to tell you on Twitter that he sells on Amazon. A lot of people are very afraid to own this as a part of their identity, right? Because they are afraid of, and just being honest, right? From seeing a ton of people be like, yo, like, I can't believe how helpful it is, like being able to hop on with these guys and everything, right? And it all costs no money too, by the way, right? It's just, you can't be afraid of what people think, right? The world belongs to people who don't worry about what other people think and everything, right? And that comes from actually doing it, right? Not pretending, not making a profile and posting on it, 4 times with no face, no personality, nothing, not following anyone, not being at the lunch table, anything like that. You have to actually own this and wear it on your chest. Right. So in terms of your current business spread, prep center, no prep center, virtual assistants, no virtual assistants, talk about the formal setup of the operation currently.
The formal setup. So basically right now we're all in-house. We haven't, done any prep center. We got no VAs currently. We're keeping it lean, but now we have a decision on our hands because my parents are forced me to go to college.
I was going to ask that too. Yeah. Okay. You do. Are you staying in Oregon though?
Yeah, I'm staying in Oregon.
W. Okay, good.
So I got a decision. So basically I'm going down to Eugene, which is about 2 hours away from where I live. So I'm thinking about, down there, the warehouses are cheaper. And then I've also I've got on video calls with, I think, 3 prep centers that I like, all those, but I'm kind of just running the numbers to figure out, time management and what. So I'm also going to go on a tour in a warehouse down there. So then I have a decision to make that I got to probably get that decision figured out here shortly, but it's either prep center or I'll keep it all in-house, keep a warehouse, and then, hire a couple of my roommates or someone down the hall. I bet they'd work for $15 an hour, free money.
No, it's like, so you don't pay room and board. You live in the warehouse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, now that we're thinking about it, yeah, more people need to be doing that. I tweet that was actually getting a shitload of love on Twitter, right? Is that more young men should be moving to sales tax-free states and living in the warehouse. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact. More people should do that, right? So if y'all are in, right, so Oregon, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, those are the sales tax-free states and everything. I low-key think Alaska is the same way, right? And then like Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, parts of those, or sometimes parts of those states, other times certain categories are sales tax-free. So if any of those, or like Florida for vitamins, right? If you live in any of those states, you have a built-in advantage. Same thing like if you live very coastally, right? So if you live on the right on the West Coast or right on the East Coast, you get more buy box share, right? If you have nursing, military discounts, right? Just based on other parts of your life, like that's another thing that can be really helpful as well. You want to figure out what built-in competitive advantage you have. If you're a young guy, right? You have time on your hands, right? If you have a lot of experience doing stuff online, you probably are a lot more proactive meeting people on the internet, which that is, I'd say, probably the most important thing for selling Amazon, right? You got to find, like I was on a coaching call this morning and they were in Pennsylvania, sales tax free. And I was saying you're on the East Coast and right, there's tons of advantages in terms like FBM and stuff like that too. What's been your spread of merchant versus FBA? Cause I know you and David send a ton of like big body FBA shipments. While you could be, you're probably doing a lot of FBM too.
Yeah. So I think I'm like, I don't know, honestly, I'm all, I've had a few things that I've FBM. I kind of just don't, kind of been busy. So I kind of don't like having to, ship the FBM, but I think
there's some maturity issues there. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. But
I'm kidding. The products I'm selling now, I think they just work way better FBA, but I've done some FBM and I did like it, besides having to pack, those, a 24 pack of something and, it's not the end of the deal, but I think, FBM, especially if you're lower capital, I think FBM should be the only thing you're doing. I think there's just the amount of, the faster returns and how quick you can get it out. Cause, especially being in Oregon, most of my stuff goes East Coast, but so like the lead time is like almost a month. So, I got to ship it out, got to go over there for a week, receive for another, FC transfer. And by the time I'm getting paid, the lead time is probably almost 60, 90 days, 60, 65 days. So I've done some FBM, but it's mainly all FBA right now.
Yeah, and you've built the leverage to not need to. Like, for example, in Q4, Garrett doesn't do an FBM, right? But he's built the leverage to not need to, and everything off of getting good at the process initially, getting good at sourcing, having a group of people you like, etc. Right? So what are some things you would tell yourself 6 months ago or even 3 months ago, just having been a newer seller and still a relatively new seller, but like, what are the things that, you wish you knew when you were just at 10K a month or just, getting your first couple of sales, man? Like, what are some things that would have helped you grow quicker?
Something that would have helped me grow quicker is just, unload every single penny I have. Basically, I wish there's a few sales. I wish I was like, I wish I would have spent every single dollar I had on that sale. But yeah, I would just say spending all my money, knowing that I can come home to a house, family, and not have to deal with.
Yes, that's obviously, based on situationally, man. But there's obviously like, I was the same way, super lucky and blessed in that regard, as well too. And what's your MBA comparison too?
Wait, what?
What's your MBA comparison?
Oh, maybe Dennis Rodman, but not as athletic.
Oh, okay.
But, I do a lot of.
I'm not gonna lie, Garrett's low key like Dennis Rodman too, without the rebounding though. Without the rebounding.
Not a big score. Just play. Being a team player out there.
Okay, and I'm sure that translates to selling on Amazon as well, man. And then where can people find you on social media, man?
Yeah, because I got a lot of dudes on my basketball team. I had a lot of players that were way better at me scoring. So I was just. I did start, but I was just out there, doing my role. I kind of was the glue to get everyone together.
Got you. Okay, cool. And where can people find you on social media as well, man, if they want to follow more of the journey?
It's just CarsonicFBA.
Yeah, y'all check out the boy. It'll be linked in the description there. Appreciate you coming on. Was that the First Career Podcast?
Yeah, First Career Podcast.
All right, man. Many more, man.
That's
Proud
it.
of you for everything you got going on. Keep up the good work. Thanks for everyone for listening. Check out our other episodes, especially the complete back to school guide. If you're looking for more good BBB content, subscribe, leave a review. Make sure you get a free trial of Boxem, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Appreciate you coming on, Carson.